It makes no sense for you to work hard to make money and then turn around, then let just anybody give you advice on how to invest it. It is important for you to carefully consider the kind of advice that you are receiving and be able to determine the difference between good advice and bad advice. That is the purpose of this episode. I'm going to break down the process of seeking good advice. A famous influencer was asked by the regulatory body in the US that oversees investments and stock markets to pay a fine of 1.26 million. And the reason for that fine was because that influencer had promoted a type of investment on her social media and did not disclose that she had been paid to promote that type of investment. And the reason I bring this up is because we receive investment advice from all directions. And whether we know it or not, we end up being influenced to do something with our money. And the number one rule in investment is don't make huge blunders that end up costing you your investment capital. And the first step towards making blunders with your money is taking advice that you shouldn't take in the first place. Taking advice from people who should not be giving you investment advice. And that is the purpose of this episode. We are going to talk about the different ways to make sure that when you are receiving financial advice, it is going to be good advice and it is advice that is going to help you make progress in your life. And we'll break this process down into three major areas where we'll talk about how to be vigilant when you're looking for financial advice, how to be intentional about getting the right type of advice, and thirdly, we are going to talk about how to be cautious when you're implementing financial advice that you have received. The first step towards making sure that you're receiving good advice is to make sure you're vigilant about who is influencing your decisions. We are usually influenced by people that we don't even know are influencing us. And let me give you an example. At your workplace, it is possible for your colleagues to influence your financial decisions. A friend of mine once mentioned that when her colleagues noticed that there were no loan deductions from her salary, they were quite shocked and proceeded to try and convince her to take loans in order to start getting deductions in her salary. And they were quite convincing, almost to the point of getting her to the point where she was making that decision of taking on loans that she had no intention of taking on in the first place. That is an example of how people can go about influencing your financial decisions, and they're going to influence your financial decisions for the long term if you are not vigilant. Another way that we end up being influenced without realizing it is simply advertisements on social media, on radio, or on television. I would bet that you have heard on radio or on television presenters selling you pieces of land and convincing you that they are good investments. The truth is that is an advertisement paid for by a sponsor, and the goal of the person who is advertising that thing is to sell as much land as possible. It does not matter whether it is a good advice or it does not matter whether it is good for you. Their goal is to sell it. If you're not vigilant and realize that these people are actually influencing your long-term decisions where you invest a huge amount of money, then you might end up making huge blunders with your money, following advice from people who are not qualified to give you advice. And so you need to be very careful and be aware whenever someone is leading you to spend huge amounts of money. And something that should come to your mind is this person qualified to give me this kind of advice? And the kind of person that you would like to give you advice is someone who has training on a variety of areas in your financial life, because different areas of your financial life are interconnected. For example, the way you plan for retirement, the way you plan for your children's education, the way you plan for getting a house later in life, the way you plan for insurance, all of these things are interconnected in your life. So you need someone who has an understanding of how those different areas of your life are interconnected, and so can give you advice that is holistic and that takes account of all these different areas of your lives. Therefore, you need someone who has been trained in quite a number of different areas of finance. And definitely you can go to someone who specializes in a particular area. For example, you can go to someone who specializes on insurance. However, it is important to know that even though you're just being given advice in a specific area of your finances, you need to take account of different areas and how that decision in that particular area is going to affect other areas of your finances. For example, depending on the place that you decide to live for the rest of your life, for example, where you want to buy a piece of land and build a house, that decision is going to affect your retirement decision, is going to affect the way that you're able or not able to fund your children's education. It's going to affect a lot of things in your life. So if you make a decision like that and do not take account of other areas of your financial life, you end up buying more than you can afford, and you end up destabilizing your whole financial life. So be vigilant about the people who are giving you financial directions. Before we go into talking about how you could tell whether specific advice is good or bad, we could talk about what are the benefits of getting a professional financial advisor. And the first one is because they have been trained to conduct complex financial calculations and projections. Let me give you an example. Let's say 20 years from now, you would like to have 50 million shillings in your bank account or 50 million shillings in investments. A professional financial advisor is going to be able to figure out that for you very easily. And in addition to that, in order for you to make such long-term calculations, you need to be able to make certain projections about the rate of return, the kind of interest rates that you are going to earn in the future. A professional financial advisor has been trained to do those calculations for you and give you figures that you can rely on, that you can depend on to help you meet your goals. The other thing that a professional financial advisor can do for you is helping you with behavior modification. Often we know what we need to do in order to achieve a goal. For example, if you had a resolution to become fit this year, you probably knew that you need to work out, and you need to work out pretty much regularly. The problem that you probably encountered was that you did not know how to adopt those habits that were going to help you work out pretty regularly. And that is where a professional comes in. They are able to guide you in how to develop the habits that are going to make you successful. And they're also able to identify the habits that are going to keep you away from your success. And that is an important benefit of having a professional financial advisor. They are able to identify habits that you can adopt that are going to make you successful, and they're also going to help you identify habits that are going to keep you from achieving your goals. And together you can come up with strategies that are going to help you achieve the goals that you intend to achieve. Another reason why you need to have a professional financial advisor is that you are the one who is going to be paying them. You are going to be their boss, and they are going to be working for you. Whenever you're not paying someone to do something for you, they're likely being paid by someone else, and their interests and their allegiance is going to be with that person who is paying them. So when you go out and find a professional financial advisor, you increase the chances of them having your best interest in mind. And definitely there is a place for people who are salespeople, people who are selling you financial products. However, before you approach a salesperson, you need to have talked to a professional financial advisor so that they will be able to help you know the right things to buy. And so when you're going to talk to the salesperson, you have a specific plan in mind, a specific products that fit in with your financial objectives. So those are the two major ways that you're going to benefit from having a professional financial advisor. First of all, they are competent to do certain things, certain calculations and projections that are going to help you towards your goals. Then they're going to be able to identify behaviors that can propel you towards achieving your goals, and even help you overcome behaviors that have been hindering you from making progress in life. Finally, you need to be the boss of the person who is giving you financial advice, and the way to guarantee that is when you are paying them yourself. Now we move on to the actual advice that you're going to receive and how to make sure that it is good advice. The first step towards making sure that you're receiving good advice is to do some homework by yourself. And this homework involves you looking at where you are financially at this moment. Look at the way that you are spending your money, your income and your expenses, and then look at how you have been spending your money over time and the things that you have been buying. Then this includes the assets that you have and also the debt that you have accumulated over the years. And after you have done that assessment of where you are right now, you can think about the kind of goals that you would like to achieve. Where do you see yourself being in future? Once you've laid this groundwork where you figured out where you are right now and where you want to go, then you can go out and look for a financial advisor. And the reason that you did that homework is because when you're dealing with someone who is qualified, someone who is good at what they're going to do, they are going to look at all these things first before giving you advice on what to do. And the reason for that is good financial advice has reasonable basis. Good financial advice is reasonable for you in your particular situation and where you want to go. So there needs to be a reason behind the specific things that you are being told to do. And the reason for those is that when the person has looked at your life as it is right now, and then look at where you want to go in future, then they tell you this and this step is going to be the best to help you achieve that. When they do not have an idea of where you are right now, or they do not have an idea of where you are going, then the kind of advice that they're going to give you is likely not to be the right one for you in that specific situation. It might be advice that is very good for someone else, but for you it might be entirely wrong and end up causing you a lot of grief. So that is the most important aspect of financial advice. It needs to be reasonable. You need to be given specific reasons for why it is right for you in your specific circumstances right now, and based on the objectives that you have for the future. In addition to that, good financial advice is always based on comparisons. You're not just given one course of action to take. You are given several different options and then told why that specific one is being recommended. And what that does is help you get a better understanding of the reasons behind that specific recommendation. And so that by the time you're done going through the comparisons, you can be confident that the specific option that you're taking is going to be the right one for you. After you've been given advice, you do not need to act on it immediately. You can take some steps to make sure that you are cautious and that advice is actually right for you. And the first basic step whenever you have a big decision to make is to sleep on it. Take time to think about what you are being asked to do. Do not feel like you need to rush. Do not feel like you need to sign documents immediately. Give yourself as much time as you would like to consider that decision. And then in the process of considering that decision, ask for second opinions from other people around you. For example, if you know someone who has invested in that specific thing, you could ask them about their experience investing in it and whether it was worthwhile, whether they received the benefits that they were hoping to receive from that. In addition to that, if it is something that requires a huge investment commitment, find out if it's possible for you to start by making small commitments, small short-term commitments, and then as you get comfortable with the product, then you can make a long-term position. Do not invest a huge amount of money all at once without having done enough due diligence. And if there are options for you to take on smaller investments first, then definitely take that. The next thing that you can do to protect yourself is to make sure that you are going to be reviewing the progress of that investment regularly. For example, you could give yourself 6 months into the future and then look at the investment. How has it done over the last 6 months? Have you received the benefits that you are hoping to receive? Is it going according to plan? How do you feel about it? How is it fitting into your overall financial life? And if it is not fitting, if you're not comfortable, if you're not happy with it, then it makes sense for you to terminate it before you have spent years investing into that particular thing. So definitely set some time to regularly review the financial decisions that you have implemented. So there you have it. To avoid major financial blunders, there are certain things that you can do to make sure that the advice that you're receiving is good. First of all, be vigilant about the people that are giving you advice. Do not receive financial advice from just anyone. Be intentional about going out to receive advice from professionals because they have the skills to help you achieve your goals. And third, be cautious about implementing any advice that you have been given to make sure that if it is bad advice, you can backpedal as quickly as possible. Not all opinions are equal. Some of them are going to help you move towards financial freedom, and some opinions are going to lead you to financial frustrations. And so you need to be vigilant, intentional, and cautious. To help you get deeper into this topic, I've written a short book that you can get on Amazon for just $2.99. The link to that book is in the description.